Throughout your life, you were probably told the same thing over and over again, that you are too sensitive, that you need to toughen up, that you are overreacting, that you shouldn't take everything so personally. Maybe you heard it so many times that you eventually started believing it. Maybe you spent years trying to change who you are, trying to become colder, tougher, more normal. But today, I want to start this video by telling you something important. Maybe the problem was never you. Maybe the real problem is that no one ever explained how your brain actually works. Because what we often call extreme sensitivity might actually be something very different. In psychology, there's a term called highly sensitive people. Around 15 to 20% of the population has a nervous system that processes information much more deeply than average. But I like to explain it in a different way. Imagine most people experience the world in standard definition, like watching a video in normal quality. It works well, it's efficient, it doesn't require much processing power. Now imagine a brain that captures everything in ultra-high definition. Details, emotions, tone of voice, subtle shifts in behavior, small tensions in the environment. While others capture only the essentials, your brain captures far more information at the same time. And this is not just a metaphor. Neuroscience has actually found differences in how certain brains process stimuli. For example, researchers have observed that highly sensitive people show greater activity in the insula and the prefrontal cortex, areas associated with empathy, emotional awareness, and deep information processing. In other words, your brain does not easily ignore what happens around you. It analyzes, it feels, it connects. But this ability also comes with a cost. To understand why, think of the brain like a computer. Most people run relatively simple programs, quick reactions, surface-level processing. But your brain is constantly running complex simulations. When someone speaks to you, your brain is not only hearing the words, it analyzes the tone of voice, the facial expression, your past experiences with that person, the possible meaning behind what was said. All of that happens in seconds. That is why you sometimes pause before responding. It is not indecision, it is deep processing. While others are reacting, your brain is calculating. And this also explains something else you may have noticed. You feel other people's emotions very intensely. This happens because of a system in the brain called mirror neurons. These neurons allow us to simulate the emotional state of another person. That is how empathy works. But in some brains, this system is more active, so you do not just understand that someone is sad, you feel their sadness inside your own body. You do not just notice tension in a room, your nervous system reacts to it. It's as if your brain is constantly scanning the environment, an emotional radar, and that radar can be exhausting. Now here is something interesting to think about. If this trait were truly a weakness, evolution would have eliminated it long ago. But it didn't. It preserved it. Why? Because for thousands of years, human groups needed different kinds of people. Some were explorers, warriors, people who made quick decisions. But it was also essential to have someone who could detect danger before everyone else did, someone who noticed subtle changes in behavior, someone who sensed when something was wrong before it became a real threat. Highly sensitive individuals often played exactly that role. They saw what others ignored. Today, the world is very different. Modern society is loud, fast, and filled with stimulation. It's built for brains that filter out most information, not for brains that absorb everything. That is why crowded places can overwhelm you, or why long social interactions can leave you feeling drained. It's not weakness, it's sensory overload. Your brain is simply processing far more data. Psychology often uses a metaphor to explain this. Most people are like dandelions. They grow almost anywhere. Sidewalk cracks, open fields, beautiful gardens. They adapt easily to almost any environment. But some people are like orchids. In harsh environments, they struggle more than the dandelions. But in the right environment, with the right conditions, they bloom in extraordinary ways. Researchers call this differential sensitivity. It means some people are more affected by their environment. In negative environments, they may struggle more, but in positive environments, they also thrive far more. In other words, the same trait that causes difficulty in one context can become a powerful advantage in another. And that completely changes the question you should ask yourself. Maybe the question is not, how do I stop being so sensitive? Maybe the real question is, how can I build a life that respects how my brain works? Because constantly trying to become someone you are not requires enormous energy, and over time, that leads to burnout. But when you learn to protect your energy, create boundaries, and choose environments that support your sensitivity, something interesting happens. What once felt like a weakness starts becoming a strength. Your ability to read emotions improves relationships. Your depth of thinking fuels creativity. Your empathy allows you to understand people in ways that are rare. The truth is, the world does not need less sensitivity. It needs people who are capable of feeling deeply while remaining aware. So the next time someone tells you that you are too sensitive, remember this. You may not be fragile. You may simply be perceiving far more than most people around you. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt like you notice or feel things more intensely than others? Write it in the comments. And if this video helped you understand your own mind a little bit better, consider subscribing to the channel. Your support helps us continue creating content about psychology, neuroscience, and the human mind. See you in the next video.